Nice to see you. It's great to have people from all over the country. I'm going to do something, some of this you've heard before, some of it may be new to you. I want to talk about how we get students to do things and how we get parents to pay attention to us and what we expect and why. So, show of hands, either the hand icon or your actual hand. How many of you are familiar with the 10-step wow method already? I want to know if we need a little refresher or who's familiar with the wow method, our 10-step method. I got a few hands. I got a few not hands. All right, we have some new faces. I'm going to show you something and I'm going to encourage you to download your own copy of this, not because um, I need you to, I mean, I would love to have your email and send you messages, but it will ask you for your email. This is our 10-step method, and I'm going to refer to it through our talk today. The method has 10 steps, like I said. The top six are content oriented, the middle two are structure oriented, and the final steps are polish. This document that you can download, get your own copy, has space for you to take notes, either written or it's a PDF, it's a fillable PDF. I want you to think about what you do and how it matches what I'm telling you and how it's different. So here's the link. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Like I said, I encourage you to get a copy of this. I'll put that in the chat right now. And it's wowwritingworkshop.com/ and these words all have hyphens between them. Wow method free download. wowwritingworkshop.com/ wow method free download. You can also go to that homepage, wowwritingworkshop.com, and there is a link to this on that page. So before I go any further, I'm going to make sure that we're all a little bit familiar with the 10 steps because this is important to understand when we think about, and I'm going to use this phrase, 3 R's, the 3 R's of accountability. There are requirements, requests, and recommendations. Those are not on these 10 steps. This is sort of a framework to help you think about these steps or whatever steps you follow. I'm going to use my 10 steps because it's how I teach. I want to give you a little tiny bit more background before we get into that to add to what Mark said in his very generous intro. We work with students. So I am a writer and a writing teacher and a business owner, and I run a business. My partner Kim retired in December. So I am running it solo. It's Wow 2.0. It's very exciting, and we're doing all kinds of amazing things, some that we've been doing for a long time and some things new. And we developed this 10-step method 16 years ago. I am an educator. I'm an instructional designer. When I think about teaching, I want to make sure that what I teach can be executed. So we work with students, many, many, many students. We work with our own students. We work with some of our colleagues' students, so we can be your essay coach. We also train professionals. That is a huge part of our business. Some of you have been through our training. I know that. Our college essay experience training. You actually write an essay with a WOW coach following these 10 steps, and then you decide what you want to do with it in your own practice. So these 10 steps are at the center of everything we do. They are foundational to how we think about essays, how we think about essay coaching, how we think about our colleagues. So I want to talk a little bit about the 10 steps. So we start with content. There are 3 phases that an essay goes through: content, then structure, then polish. Often, and many of you probably do this, often people start with what we would consider step 2, brainstorming ideas. We sit down with a student, we ask them a million questions, we try to dig in and find the hidden jewel about them that they don't know about themselves. And we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk. Maybe we have them answer a bunch of questions ahead of time. Maybe they have evaluations they do. This is where most people start. And then they jump to step 5, to write a draft. So you sit with a student and then say, go home and write something and send it to me. Like I said, I'm an educator, I'm a trainer. I want to make sure that my students are successful from the beginning. And when I train my colleagues, I want to make sure they can do this. I want to make sure they're going to be successful. So we start, our step one is understand the prompt. I want to make sure that my students understand the question. Do they understand? We start with the Common App personal statement as our teaching essay, where we learn about the student and the student really learns the process. So I'm going to start with an explanation, a little bit of a lesson. Ours is a video and a web page. And then I'm going to have a writing exercise. Every one of these steps has a writing exercise that goes with it. I'm going to have a writing exercise to check for understanding. Do they get it? My writing exercise in this case, I'm not going to take you through every single step, but I want to give you an idea of how thorough we are. My writing exercise in this case has 3 questions. Remember, they've watched a video and they've read a web page about this idea of understanding the prompt. I've taken the Common App personal statement. I explain what it's all about. And I ask them 3 questions. 1, what is the purpose of the Common App personal statement? Why do I ask them that? It's a pretty simple question, right? I'm checking to see if they get it. The purpose of the Common App personal statement is to find out something about them that you can't find out from the rest of the application. And by that, I don't mean that chocolate is their favorite flavor. I mean something about their characteristics, who they are. So the next question, this thing takes 15 minutes for them to do. It's very easy and very short. Next question, what do they already know about you? I'm introducing vocabulary here. These are accomplishments. Application is full of accomplishments. What have you done? How many? Things you can count. How many APs did you take? Did you submit test scores? What kind of high school do you go to? These are accomplishments. These are quantitative things that I can measure. How many years were you on the soccer team? Did you go, are you involved in any clubs? Do you have a job? So I want to focus students, and they're like, why are you asking me this? And I say, there's a purpose for this. They don't ask me that. They just do it. I'm the teacher. I say so, they do it. But the next question is the key. What would you like them to know about you? And then I use this word, characteristics. So I'm balancing accomplishments and characteristics. I'm making it clear that there are 2 kinds of information in an application. There are accomplishments that are easy to measure and count, and there are characteristics that are harder to discern. And the essays, and often letters of rec, and there's some other things that are focused on characteristics. Who are you? What kind of person are you? So I want to make sure they get it, because if the student says, what is the purpose of the Common App personal statement? And they write, to show how unique I am, to make me stand out from everyone else. I know that they didn't read and they didn't watch my video. Because in both of those places it says, it is not the purpose of the Common App personal statement to show you how unique you are. The purpose is to find out something about you beyond what beyond grades and scores. I don't care if they write it word for word, if they copy and paste it out of my instructions. I want to make sure they understand the prompt. I'm confirming understanding. So when I talk about my 3 R's, requirements, requests, and recommendations, and I will share a tip sheet with you that you can look at later. This is a requirement. They have to do this exercise before I meet with them. It is not up for discussion. It is not optional. I will not do it with them. I need to know 2 things. 1, do they read and pay attention? If they don't, I'm not going to punish them, but I need to know that. And I need to know that they really understand what this task is all about. Students dive in, they brainstorm ideas, they try to find out what's unbelievably unique about themselves, and they start from there. And they don't get why they're writing the story. I climbed a mountain. Great, you climbed a mountain. How does that make you qualified for my college? Makes you interesting and, unusual, but so what? So this is brainstorm the prompt, understand the prompt. Then we go into brainstorm, focus on theme. Theme has 2 parts. What happened? What am I going to write about? And why does it matter? Why did I choose this? So I have a student who brought me all sorts of ideas, really big ideas. He had lobbied Congress. He'd done all this volunteer work. He did all kinds of cool things. I look at his ideas. He brings them to me ahead of time. This is a requirement also. Again, I give them a video, I give them a web page, I give them guidelines. They send me these ideas ahead of time before we talk, and we're going through the conversation, and none of this stuff resonates with him. It's all impressive. And then I find out it all happened when he was in middle school. Why did he come up with these ideas? And I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm just curious. Oh, well, I did this with my mom. Oh, these are some of her best stories about him. These are family stories. These are cool things mom and son did together. Those are not necessarily great topics for Common App personal statement. And I said to him, in step one, you said, when I said, what are some of your best characteristics? What kind of person are you? You said, you're really curious. You love to talk to new people, and you're open-minded. I said, those are amazing characteristics. Now, here is this is my gift to you, this phrase. Tell me about a time when you were, and I named the characteristics that he named. He thought about it and thought about it. I said, oh, last week, driver's ed. Driver's ed. Okay. He had a new driving instructor. Something controversial had happened in the local paper. He asked the instructor, what do you think about such and such? And he and this new instructor, who he'd never met before, totally disagreed. And they had an amazing conversation. And he was very excited. It was so interesting. I was so curious about why he thought that. I totally disagree with him. And he was interested in me, and it was a really respectful conversation. I love stuff like that. I said, okay, there you go. He said, that's it? I said, well, you understand the prompt, right? I want to illustrate something positive about you. If you're that kind of person, you're going to come to my campus. You're not going to freak out if your roommate doesn't behave the way you think they should. You're not going to drop out of school if something happens in a class that you don't understand. You're curious and you will talk to people and you like understanding new things. He was so excited. He's like, I can write about this. If I had asked him 101 questions about his values and his favorite activities and 3 challenges he's faced, and I went through all the Common App questions and I asked him all those questions, he never would have come up with this. The reason he came up with this is because he understood the prompt. And when I mirrored it back to him and said, based on your understanding of the prompt, tell me about a time when you demonstrated these characteristics. Easy, no problem. But I couldn't have just done that and sat down with him. I needed him to do the pre-work ahead of time. That was a requirement. He had to do it or we have nothing to talk about. So then we have them focus on theme, what happened. I got into an interesting discussion with my driver's ed instructor. Why does it matter? And he names his characteristics. That's the theme. I don't need to know the whole essay. I don't need to know where he's going to go with it. I don't need an outline. I need something to hold on to because he's going to do some free writing. He's going to write a draft 1. And when I get to step 6, my first review, I am only reading for content. I don't care about his first line. I don't care if the essay is 900 words and he's only got space for 650. I don't care if it's 200 words. It doesn't matter. I have 2 writing exercises. It's interesting. I've been doing a survey, just put it out this morning, for folks who've written an essay with us in our college essay experience training. And there's like 650 people who got this survey. So I'm asking them, how do you use the well method? Some of them did the training 6 months ago. Some of them did the training 5 years ago. And the response I keep getting is, I use these exercises. I use these exercises, whether they are in our partners program and use our resources online, whether they're in our Jumpstart program and we're their essay coaches, they use these exercises because what this does is it frees them. It frees them not to have to think of the essay as an object. They know where they are. So requirements, requests, recommendations. Again, a requirement for me is that I'm going to do 2 distinct exercises. One has the student write outside the essay and develop more content based on their first draft and the theme. And one asks them to consider new openings. Why? Not because I actually need a new opening. They could have a beautiful opening. But because I want to teach them to think like a writer. And a writer turns their work upside down and shakes out the pockets and tries to figure out how to get in from a different way to see it again, to see it new, not to fix broken things. So for me, this is a requirement for me. when I train new coaches who join my team, without fail, in the first season they're with us, they'll say, "Oh my God, this student wrote such a gorgeous first draft. I don't even need to do step 6 exercises." I'm like, mm-mm. Anyone who wrote a beautiful first draft can write a more beautiful second draft. Don't look at the essay as an object. Don't look at it as I'm trying to get to here. Go through the process. The process is for the coach as much as it is for the student. Now, I'm giving the students exercises here to do. Are they required? Are they requested? Or are they recommended? I don't tell the student what's required and not. I just know where I'm going to push back. In this case, it is required that they send me something, but I am requesting that they do this particular thing. If they don't do it or they give me a half-baked response, okay, again, I've learned something about the student. I'm not going to make them do this. If everything's required, then nothing is it more important than anything else. So then we go through step 7 is to write a new draft. It's a content plus structure draft. Then we review it for content and structure, focusing more on structure here. And what's happened is in our scheduling, because we're known for our schedules, the gap between step 5, the first draft, and step 7, the second draft, is about a week, where they have moved outside the essay and done writing exercises. That's important too. It can be 3 days, it can be, and we can condense it if we need to, but what we're doing there is we're helping them step away from this thing, this object, and think more about what am I trying to communicate? And the rest of the process is back and forth communication. We're writing back and forth. They're doing more writing exercises. They're watching more videos. They're reading more pages. So what's happening here is I'm learning about the student and the student's learning the process. Then when we move on from there and we go into UCPIQs and supplements for other schools, we don't go through every single step. It doesn't take another 4 weeks to write every essay, but now we have a framework. What do I require? I always require pre-work. Students applying to University of Michigan, they have 2 supplemental essays. They're required to look at the prompt and my notes and my instructions and explanations about the prompt and write back to me and say, and I say, what is this prompt trying to find out about you? I want to confirm understanding before. This helps keep them from writing about basketball if they're applying to Indiana. It keeps them from writing about, I've been wearing the school colors since I was in diapers, because they understand the prompt and that wasn't the question. It helps them make sure they talk about a major if it asks about a major, and that they don't have to talk about a major if it doesn't ask about it, or if it doesn't imply that that would be an important thing to talk about. It helps me make sure. So it is required that they confirm understanding and they brainstorm some ideas. In the case of a supplement, brainstorming ideas can be, here's what I want to write about, why I want to go to this school and why I want this major and why I want this program. Or it can be, here's an example of a time when I overcame a challenge, because that's the question. Or it's a creative essay. It's, U Chicago, and it's just free writing on 3 of the prompts because I just want to see if they think like this. But I require pre-work. And then we move through content structure polish in sort of bigger chunks. I'm not going to get into that today. So I want to show you something else, and then I'm going to be quiet for a little while and I want to hear from you. But I want to show you my framework for requirements, requests, and recommendations, because I want to know what you require and what you request and what you recommend, or what you have questions about. Should I require this or not? So this tip sheet is part of our partners program. And we have dozens and dozens and dozens of resources. So what we do is we teach people how to use our process, and then we give them all the supporting materials. We give them monthly meetings, a whole resource library, other members who are available to help them and support them. We have our partner mentors who are our coaches who guide them through the process and teach them. This is one of many dozens of resources. So a requirement that I want you to be thinking about when it comes to college essays. What do you require? What do you request? What do you recommend? And we're going to talk a little bit about it. Requirement is highest stakes. It is non-negotiable. If I have a student who tells me I didn't do my pre-work before the brainstorm meeting, I have a templated email. It's another thing we share with our, people who go through our programs that says, "Hi, Daniela. I was expecting to see your pre-work." It's always due the night. It's due at night before they go to bed, so I don't have to look for it. I don't have to look for it at, close of business, 4 o'clock, whatever. I wake up Monday morning. It was due Sunday night. It's either there or it's not. I was expecting to see your pre-work this morning. Our meeting is on Wednesday. Um, did you finish it and forget to send it? Is everything okay? I need it by today or we'll have to reschedule our meeting. And we're firm about that. So I get one of several responses from Daniela. One, "Oh my God, I did it." "Oh, well, you must not have pressed submit or whatever. Please go back and do it." I don't care if she's lying and she didn't do it. Doesn't matter. I want her to do it. Either she really forgot to click submit because it's all online. It's on a platform. They have to click submit. I get a copy. She gets a copy. Okay. And I say to her, every time you submit something, you're going to get a copy of it. As I told you before, make sure that you get a copy. If you don't, it means you didn't submit it. Okay. So she does the work. I did it. I didn't do it, whatever. She gets it in. We're good. Next response. "Oh my gosh, I haven't had time. I know we have our meeting on Wednesday. Can we just do it then?" I said, "Nope. This is required. I need you to," I say, "Do a crappy job. Doesn't matter. Send me anything. Just do it. I want to make sure they can log in. I want to make sure they follow instructions. I want to make sure that they understand that writing is something that you do on your own. And we will meet when there's something to talk about. If it's something I can give them in writing and they can do on their own, then I will send it in writing and have them do it on their own. I don't want to talk them through the review. I'm not going to sit and discuss that with them. I'm going to write it down and send it to them because I don't want to get them to be too reliant on me for things that they can do on their own. So, response number 2 is I didn't have time, and I say, "Sorry, sweetie, I need this today." And she does it. Response number 3 is, "I don't know what to say. I don't have any ideas." And like total stress. Okay, this is the anxious kid who spent 3 hours trying to do this, but thought it wasn't perfect and didn't do it. In that case, I will say, "I'm going to tell you something I don't tell everybody. It doesn't matter what you write. We are not," and this is in the instructions, so I'm not like telling them this from nowhere. "It doesn't matter what you write. These are conversation starters, so you and I don't have to spend 10 hours brainstorming. That's why I need this ahead of time. So I know a few things about you and I know a few ideas you had. And if you hate all your ideas, we'll come up with something else. I'm really good at this. Give me your worst. Fill in the boxes." In most cases, even that student will do it. And I say, "I want you to spend 15 minutes on it. I just want you to just send me anything." And often they have really good ideas. They just don't know it, right? Then I get to the exceptions. When I say a requirement is non-negotiable except in extreme circumstances. This is the kid who's so anxious, maybe they shouldn't be going to college. This is the kid who has such severe ADHD and doesn't have any tools to deal with it. That's an extreme circumstance. That kid, I will meet with them and go through the exercise. But then I will ask them, "What do you do to manage these problems in school? I need to know because you didn't tell me everything about you. I asked if you need any accommodations or, whatever in my initial questionnaire." And we say that is not a college essay problem. I may be able to use college essay resources to address it, but it's not a college essay problem. If it's a college essay problem, I don't have any ideas, I don't have any time, all of that, I can take care of it. If it's not a college essay problem, I need to know up front that I might be in trouble with this student, and I need to pay attention and know that I am not Superman and I might or might not be able to take care of it. In most cases, we can. A request is medium stakes. A request is important. It's not urgent. It's something you strongly suggest, but if the student or parent doesn't do what you ask, you can still move forward. So a request is, "I want you to do these step 6 exercises. I'd like you to spend about a half an hour, and I'm giving you 3 spots to write more outside the essay. And I'd like you to write more about these 3 spots." It's a request. They don't know that it's not a requirement. I want them to treat it like a requirement. 95% of the kids are going to do it. They're going to send me a paragraph for each of those 3 spots. It's going to be fine. It's good stuff. It's what I need. 5% are going to write 1 sentence, or they're only going to do one of them instead of 3. We're going to keep moving. Nothing, there's no, we can still go, because I don't want to keep sending them back. And what I'm doing there is I'm sending the message that you're doing it wrong. No, that's a kid who doesn't want to engage. I'll do another talk another time on willingness and ability. That's a willingness and ability issue. That is a kid who is either unwilling or unable to complete the assignment. And I have other solutions for that. But here, that's a request. I'm going to keep moving. A recommendation, low stakes. It's a suggestion. It would be great if you do what I recommend, but if you don't, nothing happens. It's different from a request. So I'll give you an example. What's a recommendation? Another templated email that we have, that we share with the folks in our training programs. To parents, this is an email that goes out when the student is in the revision phase after step 7. So step 5 is their first draft, their content draft. Step 6 is exercises to help them develop additional content. Step 7 is the content and structure draft. And then we go into what is more conventional revision, comments back and forth. The email to the parents goes something like this. Your child is doing a great job. Just as I told you 2 weeks ago, this essay demonstrates her resilience and her problem-solving skills. That's exactly what admissions officers are looking for. She's going to want to show you this at some point, if she hasn't already, or if you haven't insisted already. I don't put that in the email. I recommend that you read the essay in this fashion. Step away from your computer, put down your pen, or if you're at your computer, put your keyboard where you can't type on it, and just read it. Make sure you have the prompt, a question she's trying to answer, and make sure you have her theme. What is she trying to convey in this essay? What happened? The theme was what happened, why does it matter? What am I going to write about and why? Make sure you understand why this is what she wrote about. What does it demonstrate? Then I want you to think of one really good thing about the essay. What's great about this piece? Anything. Positive comment. I'm teaching the parent to think like a teacher. Give the positive, or like a manager. Give the positive comment first. Then I want you to think about what it would be like after she's had 4 years of college. And I want you to put that idea away. I'm paraphrasing. The email is much more concise than this. And I want you to remember that this is supposed to sound like the voice of a 17-year-old high school student. That is what admissions officers are looking for. So what I'm doing in this email is I'm recommending that you not judge this as a piece of literature. That's not its purpose. It's supposed to sound like your kid. And I've been sending messages to the parent along the way to set expectations. That's a requirement for me. I must continually set and reset the parents' expectations about what makes an effective essay. Because they don't know. Even if they've been through this with another kid, they don't really know. So if they don't know what they're supposed to do, it's my job to give them a job, to give them a way to think about this. So requirements, requests, recommendations. I'm going to stop talking for a minute. And I want to make sure that this makes sense to you. So I would like you to think for a moment. I'm going to be quiet. What is something you either require, request, or recommend? And I want you to write in the chat, requirement, da-da-da-da-da-da, or request, da-da-da-da-da-da, or recommendation, da-da-da-da-da. And we're going to talk through a few examples to really get to the heart of what this means. This can change how you think about your process. Everything cannot be a requirement. Or nothing, so if everything's urgent, nothing's urgent. So what's a requirement? What's a request? What's a recommendation? All right, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to think about it. Put it in the even if you're not exactly sure. Give us something that's in your process that feels like, I'm not sure if it's a requirement, a request, or a recommendation, actually. I'm not sure, but it's something I ask for. Okay, take another minute. This is great stuff. Thanks, guys. Okay, give you one more minute to add something, and then we're going to ask those of you who've contributed to tell us a little more about this. We're going to look at what you do. All right, so I'm going to call on you, and if you don't want to contribute, just say no thank you, because I'm just looking at what I have in the chat, and I want to use this for a conversation. So Valerie Dell, it says requirement is reflection brainstorm over a questionnaire for both parents and students. So can you unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Thanks.
I have my parents and students um, do kind of a questionnaire. It used to be really long, but I've shortened it because I found the process a little cumbersome. That kind of hits at things that they really value.
Mhm.
Um, I think the parents often it hits a little bit more at like the what were significant activities because I find sometimes parents are like, remember that time that you spent, all of junior year volunteering, and the kid is like, oh, that wasn't a big deal. Um, and actually, it could be a big deal. It could be really helpful to talk about. And then I have the kids do kind of more of a reflection, like, my favorite teacher was, or my favorite class was, or this was really disappointing, or this was really embarrassing or difficult or a big challenge. Um, so we kind of do a variety of brainstorming things before we get
Okay,
started.
cool. So tell me, I'm going to take you through these questions that I did not mean to dump as like a big paragraph on the page, but I'm putting them in the chat. So, question number one, why is this a requirement and not a request or a recommendation? Why is it absolutely urgently important that they do this?
I think you're asking me, right, why I do it. I
Yeah.
think it helps them. Um, I found that it's really helpful because I feel like before I did this, I had a lot of students that would come with either my English teacher said XYZ, and that may or may not have been great advice,
Uh-huh.
um, but it often was not super reflective of who they were as people. Like it already said something, like that piece of information there. I got a lot of essays that were reflective of pieces in that were already in the application.
Got it.
Um, because I think that's, if you're grading 45 papers or 60 or 90,
Yeah.
we're happy for capital letters and good punctuation, but we're not looking for a lot of depth, I think, as
Yeah.
like somebody who's been in the classroom. Um,
Understood. So what happens if they don't follow through? This is what I want you all to think about is when you require something, if it's really, really required, what do you do if they don't? So I told you with my pre-work and brainstorm meeting, I say, I'm not talking to you. I'm not meeting with you until you do this. And that is firm. Like I said, unless I have that, like really, I think we have 4 coaches on our team, and we might work with a couple hundred students, and that might happen with one who actually needs to sit with the coach and go over the exercises because they are so disabled in so many ways, which is legit. That's okay. Like we can work with those kids too. But most kids do not fall into that category. I have other tools. So, yeah, so my question then is what if they don't follow through? So, Valerie, what do you do?
If they, I actually have never had that happen before, so I've
Okay.
never thought about it.
Okay.
Um,
Good. Then your
Sometimes I've
instructions are
had parents.
excellent. They understand.
Yeah, sometimes I've had parents. I've never had a kid not do that.
Mm.
So I don't know what I do.
Okay, so here's a question though. I'm going to change the question here. It says, how does it affect you if the student doesn't follow through? How does it affect you if the parent doesn't follow through on that?
The times where I've had parents not follow through, I feel like the issue is buy-in. I'm not really sure I need
Mm.
a college. I don't know if I really need this. My kid's a
Got
pretty
it.
good writer. Are
Yeah.
you really contributing? And so I feel like it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Um, I think the one exception is I had a parent that didn't speak English very well.
Okay.
So we interviewed, we just talked. We just had coffee. It
Yeah.
was delicious.
All
Uh,
right. No, but that's really helpful because and so what it really means is it's an absolute requirement for students. If students don't do it, like, can you even work with them? Can you effectively have this exchange? If a parent doesn't do it, it actually gives you information. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to send them 10 reminders to get them to do it. This is where I want you all to think about the difference between requirements and recommendations because this will affect how where you put your effort. I need students to do pre-work. I have revamped my schedules to make sure they do pre-work. So we used to, we'd start on Thursday, we'd start on Tuesday, whatever. Those of you who've been through our training know our activities start on Sunday. I don't care if I tell them 2 weeks in advance. They can turn their pre-work in 10 days ahead if they want to. It is due the Sunday before brainstorms. Brainstorms happen on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Why? Because my coaches can wake up Monday morning and check if their new students did their pre-work for the brainstorms. And if they didn't, they go through what I described. I have a templated email. It's very low key. It doesn't accuse them of anything. It just says, "Hey, I'm wondering, is everything okay? Because you got your pre-work 2 weeks ago. You made an appointment for Wednesday. I sent you a reminder on Thursday. You got another reminder on Sunday. I need to see your stuff." And then we have a series of questions we ask if they don't do it. And if they don't respond, then we reach out to the parent. That is because it is a true requirement. It is really, I cannot go through my process the rest of the way unless they do that. So usually they do it. I mean, most kids just do it. There's no problem. But for the ones who don't, I need to address it immediately because, like I said, it is so important in my process that students write without me. So that's what so this is great. Valerie, thank you for being my guinea pig. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take another one. Let's see. How about this is a good one. Okay. Joni Baker, are you willing to speak with us and go over one of your things? So you said that a request is researching topics, extra brainstorming exercises, having others read the draft to see if it makes sense, and show a side of the student that it's important to know. So remember, a requirement we talked about. A request is medium stakes. It's important, but it's not urgent. So it's something you strongly, strongly suggest. But if it doesn't happen, you can keep moving. So take us through when you say, um, here's one, having others read the draft to see if it makes sense and shows the side of student important to know. Why is that a request and not a requirement or recommendation?
Well, sometimes I don't want them showing it to other people, like their mothers or something. But I think it's important that people that know them read it because they can tell right away if it's going to be a good reflection and
Mm-hmm.
talks about something in a true way. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes parents can add details that they forgot about, or they assume they're writing about something that everybody knows about, and it's not clear. I just think having that kind of feedback from people that know them is really important, but
Hmm.
it's not a deal breaker
Okay.
and something that I could catch in, my content review, but it kind of might get some of those problems out of the way before I have to look at it. Basically
Oh,
take some work off my hands before
so this
I
is before you see it. This is
yeah.
not like, here's a finished essay. Does it sound like me? This is, I just wrote a first draft. What do you think? That's really interesting. I've
Yeah,
never
just to
thought
kind
of
of
that.
clear that. Yeah, because I think other people can like kind of how teachers use peer review. Like that's not
Yeah.
going to be your grade, but sometimes they catch things before you see it to make it, I don't know, make that first. And it could be done between the first and second draft. Like I have
Okay.
seen it, but I haven't really told them to change that kind of stuff. But their parents might be like, "Yeah, you talked about this, but you forgot this big thing, and you did this or whatever," that might spur them to add some details
Interesting.
that they didn't.
So, how does it affect you if the student doesn't follow through on the request?
It's not a make or break because, like I said, I could probably catch some of those things too.
Hmm.
So I think not doing it is not going to be a problem, but I also don't know them to say, hey, you forgot about this. I can't catch that type of stuff.
Got it. So then my question is, how do you communicate it? How do you tell them? And why do you communicate it at the time you communicate it?
Um, hmm.
You
I
can be
guess
formal or informal. Yeah, it doesn't
I
matter.
would probably communicate it when we were reviewing their first draft and say, are there things in here? Like, are you sure you covered all the topic or covered the
Well, I
topic
mean, how do you communicate to them? I'd like you to have someone else read this. Like, when do you tell them that?
during the first draft review?
So, but you said that you have someone review it before you do your first draft review.
Well, I think
I
I
don't mean
would
to
do
trip you up. I'm just trying to
no,
be
I think I
clear.
would do it between the first draft and the second when we're still talking
Okay,
about content and
got it.
keep just so that the second draft does have some changes
Mm-hmm.
and maybe
Okay.
not. And so I know when I write, you get so tied up in what you're writing that you
Yeah.
can't look at it objectively because you've
Mm-hmm.
spent so much time on it. It
Yeah.
also gives them that opportunity too.
Got it. Okay. Really interesting. I appreciate you all sharing your examples. I want you to really think about this. What I'd love it if you did was if you took the 10 steps I gave you, make notes about what makes sense to you, what doesn't make sense to you, what do you do, what don't you do, and where are the requirements, the requests, and the recommendations. I'm going to guess that you don't know for a lot of them. I didn't know for a lot of them until I really thought about it. Like, wait a minute. What does it matter if they don't do this? Like, what if they don't do it? So what? Or, oh my gosh, if they don't do this, I'm going to put the link to the 10-step download in the chat again. Maybe I thought it was important because I want it. Oh, I'd really like to know that. So I'll give you another example. We have a questionnaire that students fill out ahead of time. It appears to be a requirement because I say to them, I am going to confirm your spot on our schedule once you fill this out. Okay. But really, it's a request. I'd like it. They do it, but occasionally they don't. And I remind them. So I'm not saying that you don't remind students about requests and recommendations. What I'm saying is you need to know which ones of these things am I going to go to bat for and which ones am I going to let go? And how am I going to? So I'll give you the questionnaire example. I need that information. One of my questions is, what do you already know about college essays? I want to know what misinformation they have. I'm very curious to know what they think they know. Another question is, where did you get that information? Very important. If they got it from their dad, I need to tread lightly. If they got it from their English teacher who's never talked to a college admissions officer in their life, I don't have as much trouble with that. So I want to know where they got their information. Another question is, how do you feel about reading and writing? I want to know. I hate to read. I love to read. I hate to write. English is my favorite class. Really important. So I do remind them. They get the questionnaire when they sign up. They get the questionnaire again in a week if they don't respond. Their parent gets a copy of the email saying, please have your student complete their questionnaire. we do that like 3 times. So I remind them and remind them and remind them. But if after 3 reminders they don't do it, I don't put the brakes on and say, we go no further until you complete the questionnaire. I find other ways to get that information. But it's more efficient for me to get that information ahead of time. So do you see what I'm saying? So that is a request. It's medium stakes. It's not a recommendation. It's not like do this if you can or if you want to. I will treat all of these things equally when I give the information. This is why I want you to think about how and when do I share this information? What do I do if they don't follow through? Good question. Think about it. When do you follow through and when don't you? How do you follow up? When do you reach out to a parent? Our standard sort of guideline is give the student the assignment. Student doesn't do the assignment. Remind the student about the assignment. They still don't do the assignment. Reach out to the parent and say, Danny hasn't done his assignment. Is everything okay? Oh, he had his wisdom teeth out on Monday. Oh, nobody told me. Okay, he's fine. He'll be great. He'll be back next week. Or he told me he's on track with his assignment. Let me check. Okay, so I'm going to follow up on that kind of thing. Most kids do their work. So what I'm saying is it's important to really look at what you do and how. So I've got like 2 minutes. Questions. Sorry, I said there'd be room for Q&A and we got very wrapped up in all of these things. I promise if you send me a question, put my email here, I will answer it. Always, I answer my email. I answer all the questions. So please feel free to send me questions anytime. I do a free college essay pro chat once a month on a topic, on a college essay topic. So if you go to my website and you sign up, I'm going to give you another page that you can get some more information. My next topic is about procrastination. So every month I pick a different topic and I answer questions on that topic. So you're welcome to come to those. We're here. We have lots of resources. I would love for all of you to go through my training. That would be my dream. That would be amazing. I want everybody to have the WOW method. But at the very least, I want to be a resource for you. So please send your questions, come to our sessions. Who's got another question right now? What have I got? Any questions? You can unmute and ask or type it in the chat.
Hi, this is Margaret. Would it be okay if I asked a question?
Yeah, Margaret, always.
So the senior who shows up in the third week of October of a senior year,
Yeah.
and they've done nothing and there's no college lists and they're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I'm, okay. In a triage fashion, we are approaching this process, but in the essay, they get stuck in, well, I'll just write what I think they want to hear, not what they need to know. And then I also have 39 other students whose actual application I am working through. How do I expedite? Like, is there a magical word that you know that I can say?
Triage is the word. So here's what we do. We give the student feedback that they can use in the time they have. I'm not going to tell them everything I notice. I'm not going to make sure they have a theme. I'm not going to tell them we're doing a content review and then I'm going to do a structure and polish. I will not work harder than they will, not because I'm mean, but because I have 39 other students who need my attention who have been bought into the process from the beginning. So what we do here, and this is something I've learned over years of giving massive feedback to kids who don't have time to execute on it. Because we used to give like 3-page reviews on essays like that. We're like, well, you're missing this and you need this and you need to think about that. And then they would just like be like, oh my God, it's too much. I can't do it. And then the parent would call and say, I'm going to call you for my daughter who's applying in 2 years, but my son really just decided to submit the essay he had. So what we do is we look and find small things that will improve the essay. But again, I said this at the beginning, we don't look at the essay as an object. We look at the student and we look at the essay in context with the application. And given the student in context with the application, I figure if you apply somewhere you're qualified for, this essay is just a thing you need to submit. It's on the Common App. The box has to be filled. If you're applying to schools you're maybe not qualified for, I didn't help you make the list. You didn't have a list. I'm sorry. Like, can't do anything about that at this point. So I find things I can actually affect and I do those things. I want the student to feel as confident as they possibly can. And if they messed up and didn't do what they could, they're probably going to college anyway. And this whole thing is going to be over soon. Or if they think they want to apply early, I say, look, I cannot help you in time to apply by November 1st. I'm not a magician, but not every application has to be early, and more schools are deferring anyway. So just apply regular admission. It might not matter. So I don't diminish the importance of it, but I don't take on responsibility that's greater than what the student has. And that has actually served us well. And we've seen students be very satisfied with the feedback they get. They just want to be done. Anyone else? I have time for one more question. Last question. Okay, we're great. Thanks
That
for
was
having me,
great.
everyone.
That was
I have
incredible.
one.
Oh yeah, Mark always has the last question. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the perk of hosting the meeting. Uh, it sounds like you have a whole bunch automated,
Mhm.
like, and that seems to free up the calories you're burning mentally,
Yeah.
so you can do other things. For people who are trying to systematize their practice more,
Mhm.
how long did that roughly take you to do? Ish. Just so we know, so we're
We're
not getting.
constantly refining it. I am in the process right now of overhauling the delivery website where we deliver our training, where we deliver our coaching for students. I've been doing this for 16 years. The first version of that platform was developed in 2012 to 13, and I've been refining it ever since. So it's not all automated, but it is systematized. So yes, we do have automations. I do have things that like go out because this is all we do. It has taken years of learning and listening. Why did we start doing the Sunday night due date? Because a parent called and said, "When is my son going to be done?" And we're like, "Yeah, when is he going to be done?" So we took what we were doing sort of in our heads and put it in a schedule on a spreadsheet. And now people who go through our training get that schedule in the spreadsheet. I say to them, you don't have to use my schedule, but every single date on this schedule has a purpose. There are 3 days here because of this. There's one day here because of that. I tell the student, this is going to take 10 minutes. This is going to take an hour. So how long did it take? We are constantly learning and refining. We sell this stuff. Like, you can use my system. It exists. It is available. It's part of a membership program. And it's not just a platform. It's sort of similar to what you're doing here. Constant professional development, constant reflection. How do I use it? Why do I do this? Why don't I do this? How do I use this step? How do I use that step? So in our world, we think everybody needs a little bit of wow, whatever that means for you. We encourage you to learn from us and use it to DIY it, to use our platform, to go through our training. So, Mark, how long did it take? It takes every day, all the time.
Yeah, but your first draft, like your first iteration
First
of.
iteration of it took a few years, probably took us here's how we developed our online system. I was sitting in a room and telling students the same thing over and over and over and over and over. This is 2012. We started in 2009. And I said, why am I saying, I can't even remember. Did I say this to you or was that to the kid before you? I should put this in a video. This is long before everybody was making videos of everything. So we made it in a video and we said, oh, you know what? We also need them to be able to read it. And we need a writing exercise. So we took the document we had and made a Word document and we would email it to students. That was the first version of this. It took us about 2 years to develop that first version. Now it's all on a platform and it's in a form and the student gets a copy and we get a copy and the templates are available to our partners who use our platform. So yeah, the first version took a couple years we really paid attention. We did time studies. My partner is a journalist, so she'd say, well, I'm just a really good brainstormer. I'm like, no, we're going to teach other people to do this. What do you do? And I would take notes. So it's a lot of listening and learning and paying attention to how you work and how students receive what you do and what parents need and when they need it, and keeping as much consistent as possible.
Thank
Did that
you.
answer your question?
That's helpful. Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
it took a long time and we're still making it better. All right. Thanks, everyone. Great to be with you. Hope to join you again.
Thank you
That
so
was
much.
awesome.
This was awesome.
My pleasure. Bye.
Take care, everyone.